if you can harness the power of your mind, anything is possible. That's how mind-blowing it is to me, the whole mindset power that we have that we don't even realize, I think, most of the time.
But the reality is that your mindset can be your superpower.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it should be your primary superpower. I think we should put more emphasis on we look at it as a negative thing a lot of times. Oh, just think happy thoughts and it'll be fine. No, it's really a power within you that you can harness and use to your advantage to bring vitality to your life, bring health to your cells, bring abundance around you.
Hi, I'm Glennis Woods Mullins, and I love to help women to vibe, to be more vibrant, intuitive, beautiful, and empowered in midlife. So come on, let's vibe. Wouldn't you love to have a secret sauce to be able to roll back the years, take the age back in reverse, and to be able to be young and vibrant and all that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we would all like that. But I tell you, that's not my preference. I am having my best life right now at almost 68. And I have to tell you, our guest, Carey, is it Mencarini?
Mencarini, yes.
Okay, Carey Mencarini. He has an amazing story that reminds me of what you can do right now in this moment in time to be able to turn back the clock in terms of your overall wellness and health, and how important it is to have the right mindset to do that. She has an incredible story of personal health journey that took her from being wheelchair bound. Everybody's always trying to figure out a way they can feel better, look better, be better without making much of an effort. Of course, that's unrealistic. But when you get in midlife, you get kind of almost a desperation curve because you're thinking, okay, I'm 40, 45, 50, or you're in your third act, I'm 60. I need to figure out how can I slow down time so I can be here longer. But the reality is, it is not as impossible as one might think. Our mindset, basically what's going on between our two ears, is so important. And that's why I'm so thrilled to have with us Carey Mencarini with us on the podcast. She's going to be sharing with us her personal health journey that took her from being wheelchair bound and only given months to live to a vibrant, healthy, and incredibly transformed person who right now is sharing her powerful holistic therapies with everyone. Carey, it's so wonderful to have you on the Vibe Living podcast. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Linus. I'm grateful that you're having me on your wonderful platform and podcast, and excited to talk about turning back the hands of time, living now with vitality, which is really what it's all about.
It is. It really is. And first of all, let's make sure we get your last name straight. I totally destroyed it, but please say your last name.
Sure. Carey Mencarini.
Okay, I wasn't even close.
It's quite all right.
Thank you so much, and my sincere apologies. I have an unusual first name, and so I'm just so used to people mispronouncing it that I find that I probably am more insensitive to mispronouncing other people's last names because I'm so used to getting mine. So forgive me for my shortcomings there. But you have an amazing story. Over 20 years of medical experience and thousands of success stories that you've had with your whole concept of the vitality solution. But first of all, tell us a little bit about you and kind of how you arrived to this whole new way of being and wonderful solution in terms of helping people recharge their health.
Sure, absolutely. I was in my early 40s and progressively getting sick, and to the point I ended up in a wheelchair and on oxygen. And the doctors did the typical, we don't know what's wrong with you, you're depressed, you're a middle-aged woman, and diagnosed me with kind of a non-specific ALS at the time. And I had 2 young boys, and that wasn't an option. Dying was not an option. They gave me 6 months to live, and so I knew I had to, having gone through the Western medicine side of things, I started to seek out natural alternatives like IV therapy, which is pretty much where I started to become functional and be able to think. The other alternatives that I kind of went down the path of led me to where I'm at today. And that's why I decided to write a book and bring awareness to others how to get back either your vitality or live through a chronic illness with grace and a lot more ease than how I struggled. So
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm so glad you're here and that you lived long enough to be able to share your story to others. It's so encouraging, but
thank you.
also it really gives people, I'm sure, a lot of aha moments. Because let's face it, our traditional healthcare system, and I'm not anti-AMA, I keep saying that I am not,
Right.
the way they approach things is limited. They treat for symptoms, not causation. And if we could begin to wrap our heads around the idea of being treated for causation and also living preventatively, it's such a better way to go instead of having to get to that nth degree where you're lying on the table and they're telling you you have so many months to live or you have to have so many surgeries or here's a bag full of medications. I mean, that's not necessarily the way we want to live our life. So
Right.
I know you wrote a book called The Vitality Solution, Recharge Your Health with IV vitamin therapy. So my first question is, what is IV vitamin therapy?
So IV vitamin therapy is really the basics of cellular nutrition, vitamins, hydration. Two things that our cells need to communicate effectively and thrive. And that really is the basis for then doing all other things. You know, you have to start with the right fuel in your cells before you can optimize them. So that's really what IV vitamin therapy is all about. It is designed to help you live with the most efficient and effective fuel possible.
Now, this is interesting. Now, is this is kind of where you arrived after trying many other things. Tell me a little bit about that first treatment and how you felt after that first treatment.
You know, awake. I was awake. Hydration does amazing things. I was doing higher dose C than what we do at my business, but I was also severely malnutrition because I wasn't absorbing vitamins from the food I was eating. I was not holding on to water molecules within my cells. I had a lot of cells, more bad cells than good cells.
Wow.
So,
Which,
you
of
know,
course, is one of the reasons why they say you're slowly dying is that your cells aren't being replaced, aren't being repaired. So tell me
exactly.
what you did with the IV therapy is that you're injecting immediately into the bloodstream the vitamins and things. What kind of vitamin cocktail, for lack of a better description, did they give you?
So a lot of people are familiar with the Myers bag. It's like an immunity formula. So you're looking at vitamin C, your B vitamins, B complex, B12, magnesium, lysine in some instances, glutathione, which is a master antioxidant of the body, helps your body, your liver function and detox properly. So those types of vitamins are typically in an immunity bag per se, and will give your body the fuel that it needs on a very basic level. But it's really effective because they're pharmaceutical grade. I mean, these are like high quality vitamins you couldn't get otherwise, and it bypasses the gut. So it's immediately effective, immediately absorbed, and your body uses what it needs and gets rid of what it doesn't.
Right, it sloughs off the rest, which is something I tell people all the time about supplement use. That sometimes you really need to find out, first of all, what you need before you get the supplements and then source the supplements to make sure that there's something that can be readily absorbed by the body. Otherwise, you have
Right.
extreme expensive urine. So
Yes, exactly.
no one wants no one wants to do that. So I am fascinated about this regeneration protocol that you went through. Could you explain a little bit about how that worked?
Yeah, fasting is what you're referring to, correct? Yeah, so fasting is an incredible process of generating stem cells naturally. Basically, helping the body, you know, we spend so much cellular energy digesting food, doing other things. And when you go into a fasting state, your body is able to repair itself at the cellular level and then generate new cells that take over. So you're trying to get that balance of more good cells than bad cells. And that's really what the fasting process does. And this is drinking water only. What I did was medically supervised, but there are things like intermittent fasting you can do that
Mhm.
are very, very effective.
Now, how long were you fasting when you were doing this protocol?
So I fasted for 16 days,
Mhm. And it
just
was just
water only.
and was this after the vitamin infusion treatment or before or during or?
Yes, yeah. This was my most recent, what would you call my most recent experiment on my health and trying to
Mm.
I have so many layers of dysfunction over the years and things that needed repairing that I was looking and being a busy entrepreneur now, our lives are a little bit stressful at times and our bodies aren't always functioning optimally. So fasting was a way of kind of rebooting my body
Yeah.
and repairing it at the same time.
Yes, I do intermittent fasting. I haven't done it for a while, or let's say that's not true. I started doing it and then I'm trying to think of how did I ever do this? Because I was doing it for a few years and then I stopped and just gave it a break because you do want to do it under a doctor's care or a health professional that knows what they're doing because you don't want to break your metabolism. You want to make
Right,
sure that when you break the fast, you do it properly and that's the right fast for you and that you're drinking the right things during the fast and all that kind of stuff.
right,
And it does make a difference. It can make a great difference. I look at it as giving your body a break and let it
right.
repair itself without introducing anything else that might influence the way that it repairs. So you're going through this process, you've done the IV therapy. How long did it take for you to begin to feel whole through this whole process?
I would say probably after the second time I fasted, I've done 3 sessions of fasting, each 6 months, about 6 months apart. And it was after that second one that I really started to feel like I was kind of coming back alive again. My cells were functioning optimally, my brain was clear. Have such clarity when you're fasting. It's almost, I understand why they do it in religion now because you are at a whole nother level of thinking.
That's right.
And I worked through the whole fast. So, I mean, it was incredible. I can't, I recommend it to everybody.
I've never, well, I think the longest I've done fasting without eating at all was probably about 3 or 4 days. And there came a certain point in time where something just kicked in and I had more than just energy. I just felt like I was on a different level of thought
Right.
and really didn't want to come down on the fast when I was supposed to, but wisdom told me that you need to get off the fast now. It's enough.
Right.
Haven't done it since then. It was a while back. But having done all of that, I know that you've discovered for yourself this secret sauce in terms of what made all of this come together. And I'm talking about your mindset. How important was your mindset when it came to doing all of this?
It's critical. It is the primary, your primary source to get you through the various things that you need to do in order to get to a point of vitality. What we think our body hears all the time. You don't even have to say words. If you're thinking negative thoughts, that is sending a negative energy into your cells and it's attracting more negative cells. So it's mindset is become more my forefront and where I go to for healing than anything else. Everything else is kind of now coming behind mindset because if you don't want to heal, you're not going to heal. If you're not in a positive environment, you're going to absorb that negative energy. It's 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 just crazy.
So, how do you get that mindset? What kinds of things do you say to yourself? What kinds of things do you do to maintain a positive mindset?
That's great question. I do a lot of different things. I'm a person of faith. So for me, prayer and meditation daily is crucial. If I don't start my day that way, it's a wonky day. So I do that. Exercise. I make sure that I am generating those feel good hormones, which only takes 15 minutes of walking to do. It's very easy. So those are two primary things that I make sure I do every day. I do some guided meditation. And then I make sure that I'm fueling my body with things that are positively charged. So
Yes, yes. And explain too, in case our listeners don't know what that is. What do you mean by positively charged food?
So food that will fuel your cells, that have nutrient value, that are high in energy, that are wholesome. Not, I could go down the road of organic, non-GMO, blip, blip, blip,
Right, right. Basically, nutritionally dense food. And
thank you.
that does not
Yes.
necessarily include our processed foods, our packaged foods, our foods that have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, J coloring in it, and all this
Right.
that we put in our foods, but foods that are sourced as close to from farm to fork as possible. Organic foods are great, non-GMO, basically foods that have not had a lot of processing done to them, I would imagine.
Exactly.
Yes, and I can understand the value of that. And I'm a health conscious person, but I'm curious because I'm looking at the questions here that your agency so kindly provided. And I haven't asked that many of them. But this is one I do want to ask because I don't know the answer to it. You said you see a lot of health conscious people, that would be me, making a critical mistake. What is it, and why is that so dangerous? What mistake? Ooh, what could I be doing?
That's a fabulous question. Let's see, what would be the mistake?
It's one of the questions that you had down there as a recommended question. And I'm thinking, you see a lot of health conscious people making one critical mistake. Does it have something to do with our mindset?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if what you're thinking at the time you're eating has a huge impact on how we digest, how we process the fuel, whether that fuel gets used optimally or not. But I really, it really has a lot to do with digestion,
Okay. Looks like we're getting into things around the gut as well.
right?
Right. Because I do know that you have to have an excellent gut in order to leverage any of these things holistically that are going on. It's kind of like a continuum. It's a mind, body,
Right.
spirit thing. If the gut is off, the mind is off. If the mind is off, the gut is off. And if the mind and the gut are off, then your spirit is off. It's all together. And
Yep.
so, oh my God, I can't even believe I'm living and breathing. But to me, the whole thing is sometimes when you're talking to people who are health conscious, after a while, you go, oh shoot, I can't eat anything. I can't drink anything. I can't do anything. I can't even breathe the air.
Right.
But
Right. Yeah. Forget
right,
about water. Yeah.
exactly, all of that, right. But all things in moderation. And I also think your body talks to you if you take the time to listen. That's
Yeah.
why I think how you start your day is so critical. That time in peace and quiet.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You have to set up your day for success. You have to put yourself in the right frame of mind to be able to handle whatever the day hands you, the challenges of life in general, and to keep yourself in that positive state of mind.
Yeah,
Um,
it's very important. I always say all the time that our success in terms of being healthy, our success general, as being people, human beings, really starts with whatever is going on between these two ears,
yeah,
whatever your talk, whatever conversations that are going on. And if the conversation isn't very positive, then not very positive things are going to happen. If
right.
it's, if it's very positive, uplifting, can-do attitude, and that's not to feed into, and this is a new terminology that I'm still learning the meaning of, and I'm not even sure if I even like it, but there's a whole thing around toxic positivity. Everybody's been talking about that lately.
Yeah,
And I think toxic positivity means possibly a person who is almost in denial, is not dealing with reality, what we call back in the day Pollyanna.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
But that's not what we're talking about here. We definitely are talking about having your feet grounded, taking the rose-colored glasses off. But that's not where you live all the time. You don't live being preoccupied with how bad things are. My daughter and I have a podcast called Focus on What's Working. And I think that really, for me, says it all in terms of the way I want to live my life. Because if I focus on all the stuff that's bad, then I feel like more bad things start coming. You start attracting more of that. But if you
You
focus on
absolutely
what's
do.
if you focus on what's working, then
Yeah.
more things that work. You talked about starting your day in a positive way. I do have something called starting your day in a positive way. I start my day with prayer. I have two prayer lines I belong to, and journaling, and basically taking that self-care time to kind
Right.
of do the things that I can't do when everybody's up and around. And I started this when I had my four little ones because that was the only way I could be sane.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
the rest of the day was dedicated to them.
Right.
And I carried it on ever since then. But it's interesting because I know you've done a lot of research around how thoughts affect our cells. What have you learned about that?
Yeah. I didn't understand that thinking could generate a certain vibration in a cell. And then that energy would carry on through the rest of your body. It's like our cells talk to each other, our thoughts talk to ourselves. And oh gosh, there's a couple different people that I have done research on. And oh gosh, I'm trying to remember his name, but he talks about the how we can actually transform our own cellular health with thought alone by really concentrating our positive energy and focusing, say, on an area of your body.
Mm.
That he's actually shown that cells change. It's almost like generating your own stem cells with thought.
Yes, I do know of one thought purveyor, Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Thank you. Yes,
Oh,
that's
is that okay? That's what I'm
that's
talking
him.
about. Okay. Yes, this is where the whole idea of affirmations and everything else comes into play. This is so interesting because there was a big to do about affirmations way back in the day, whatever. It doesn't really work or whatever. And then Dr. Joseph Spencer came up with his studies and showing that actually by doing this, you can create new neural pathways, new ways of thinking and being, and that
Right.
impacts not just your personality, but can impact your health as well. And I can tell you that for me, affirmations on whatever it is that I'm dealing with makes such a difference. And I know sometimes you might think, oh, that's woo woo, it doesn't work. But no, no, no. There's been studies that have shown that it actually creates new neural pathways, new ways for your brain to communicate to you in a positive way, and new healing. People who have been very, very sick, they start this whole thing with affirmations plus whatever treatments they're going through. And
Right.
seems like the recovery is so much more quick. But the mind is a powerful thing.
Very much so. I mean, it really is one of your health tools in your toolbox. I mean,
Mm.
if you can harness the power of your mind, it anything is possible. I mean, it just that's how mind-blowing it is to me, the whole mindset power that we have that we don't even realize, I think, most of the time, right? I mean,
That's true. That I think we take it for granted, but the mind is very
yes.
powerful. We use that whole mind thing for the Marvel characters and stuff that they do that. I'm thinking, well, why can't we be a Marvel character? I mean, most of them started out as humans and then all of a sudden they have these superpowers for whatever reason. But the reality is that your mindset can be your superpower.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it should be your primary superpower. I think we should put more emphasis on not we look at it as a negative thing a lot of times. Oh, just think happy thoughts and it'll be fine. No, it's actually really a power within you that you can harness and use to your advantage to bring vitality to your life, bring health to your cells, bring abundance around you. I'm almost speechless when I start thinking about the neuroplasticity of the brain and everything and how we really can change our outcomes.
Well, I mean, you did it. You
Yeah.
between
Yeah.
the vitamin therapy and the other things that you were doing. The main thing, it seems to me, is that it was your mindset that embraced all of this, because no matter how many pills or surgeries and everything else that you might take, if your mindset is not ready and right to receive a positive outcome, then you're probably not going to have a real positive outcome.
Exactly.
Yeah. You have to see that this is going to work, that the light coming towards you is not a train. It's the light. It's just a different way of looking at it. Oh my God, there's that light. Yes, that's the light at the end of the tunnel. Instead of, oh my God, it's the light. Oh my God, it's the train.
Right.
What? How do you know that? Well, why could it not be the light at the end of the tunnel? A positive result. And I don't think that means that you're in denial about the bad things that could happen. But I just truly do believe, I've lived it, I've seen it happen in my life, that what you think about, what you ponder on, what you tell yourself truly does come to pass.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And honestly, it's the only way I survived. Divine intervention and positivity. I wanted to be well. I always felt I could be well, and I knew there was a way, and it was through various tools, but if my mind hadn't been in the right place, I would not have survived. I definitely would have succumbed to what everybody predicted. So
Which is interesting. Just that alone, and that's why I wish sometimes traditional medicine would kind of back off on how they talk about diagnosis. This is what you have, and this is what we're going to do, and these are the other things you need to do to support what we're going to do, and start talking about the mindset and explaining that. But we don't come that way. But that's why our holistic doctors, our naturopaths, our functional medicine doctors, and also our integrative docs are so important. I believe that a midlife woman especially needs to probably have a team of folks that they can call on that aren't necessarily their traditionally trained MDs, because when the hormones and all kinds of other things start kicking in, it's great to have that holistic toolkit, that self-care plan to pull out so that you can try some of these other things before you start dropping all the pills and pharmaceuticals and things that
yeah, they're unnecessary. They're
they are
unnecessary.
unnecessary. Absolutely. Carey, it has been so wonderful having you here on the Vibe Living podcast. Thank you so much, and congratulations on your success and on your recovery and all the positive information that you're putting out in the world, the positive vibes that you're putting out in the world.
We like good vibes. Good vibes are what life and vitality is all about. So I appreciate the time with you, and what you're doing is so important, and especially for us women who are over 40 and challenged with a lot of different things. It's amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So everyone, Carey is the author of The Vitality Solution: Recharge Your Health with IV Vitamin Therapy, Mindfulness, and Fasting, and more. It's a book that you should definitely add to your midlife toolkit. You know, I tell you this all the time whenever we have a guest on whose book I think is really important for you to have as a reference model in your self-care. Because remember, folks, as you are going through this aging journey of midlife, your hormones go up and down, the chemicals, they all change, okay? So sometimes one kind of thing works, and then all of a sudden you wake up one morning, you do that thing, and it's not working anymore. It doesn't mean that you've gotten worse. It just means that something has shifted. That's why it's a good idea to purchase the books I recommend, and check out these guests, their websites and everything, because you never know when you might need their expertise. It's always good to be prepared. And remember, getting this information, gathering it, that is power. But acting on the information, that's what's powerful. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Please like, comment, and share. I'd really like to hear from you in terms of other things you'd like to hear about that are going to help you to vibe, be more vibrant, intuitive, beautiful, and empowered in midlife. Thanks a lot for listening. And don't forget to vibe. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Vibe Living Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and share this podcast. Have a fantastic day, and don't forget to vibe. Bye-bye, everybody.